Arne, how do you sum that up from a Liverpool perspective?
First half was an equal game. Of course, it was a big blow for us that one of the two strikers that we have available with Hugo and Alex was already not here, and then the other one has to go off after 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, that's usually not helpful, especially not if you look at how well Hugo played Wednesday. But the first half, I think, was an equal game. In the second half, Brighton was the better team on the pitch.
You mentioned Ekitike going off, which must have changed things a lot for you. It looked like it was a dead leg, but he looked quite visibly upset when he came off. Is it worse than initially expected, or are you not sure yet?
No, I think the players, the fans, we all know that there's only 8 games to go to qualify for Champions League, and then every game that you have to miss is something you're upset about, and I think him having to go off after 1 or 2 minutes, not being able to help the team anymore with something that is, it's just a bit of bad luck, because it's not like he's out for 3 months. At least that's not what I assume. But it's bad enough not to be able to continue, and that's a big blow for him, and was in the end also a blow for us.
It does mean it's Liverpool's 10th league defeat of the season, which is the first time that's happened in the Premier League for 10 years now. Is it that lack of consistency, once again, after the Champions League, not being able to follow it up with another victory?
No, it's clear that we've lost a lot of points after playing in Europe. I've tried to explain already a lot of times why this is. But today we also have to give credits to Brighton, because I think in the second half they were, as I earlier said, the better team on the pitch.
You said before the match that in terms of qualification for the Champions League next season, you might not need to win all of the remaining league games, but with now 7 left to go, does it feel like they're running out?
Yeah, but that's also what I already meant before the game. What I thought was that you don't need to have 24 points to qualify. And hopefully I'm right, because we're not able to get 24 points out of the 8 games anymore. So, but we did understand, and I do know it, and that's what I also said, and I did knew that it was a final, and I think we kept trying. We were in the second half, we were 2 or 3 times close, but as I said, they were closer to scoring the third one than we scoring the second one. But the players kept trying, kept fighting, and unfortunately it wasn't enough after a week like this.
So international break next. How much pressure is there on you when you return after that to end the season on a high?
Yeah, but there's always pressure at Liverpool. On me, on the players, that's completely normal. We've qualified for the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and for the Champions League, and in the league we need to make sure that in the end we qualify for Champions League. But we, as much as I dislike us losing here today, I think Brighton in a way has always been a difficult one, and it will always be a difficult one as long as they keep bringing so many good players in over here. But there are other games where we should have picked up our points, and where we, like last week, being 1-0 up in the 90th minute against Tottenham. That is far more unacceptable than this. Although even away at Brighton, a club like Liverpool should be able to get a result.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, Arne Slot's side have won just 4 of the 10 matches that they've played after Champions League football this season, Stephen. They're just really struggling with those multiple games, aren't they? And Arne Slot very fair again in his assessment, did you feel?
Yeah, because at Champions League level you have to be all in, you'd have to play at a certain level of intensity and speed, and you'd have to run even harder than you probably do at Premier League level. And if you've got a couple of injuries or your squad's got some imbalances, you'll be caught out in the Premier League, especially in this day and age, because every team's improved and every game is difficult, especially away from home, when you've got limited time to recover and prepare, and you've got to travel. Then you lose 2 players day before the game, you lose a striker after 5 minutes. All these things go against you, and you've got a Brighton team who've prepared all week, they're full of energy, they're raring to go. That's when you get caught out, and it's happened too many times to Liverpool, because they haven't got the squad, which is a strange thing to say after the investment. They haven't got the squad at the moment to cope with the games after the Champions League.
They were outrun again today by Brighton, so 27 times out of the 31 games in the Premier League, Peter. Is that justifiable by the fact they've played in the Champions League or not? Is that not an excuse?
No, I don't think it can be, just because, Liverpool's, they're going to be playing the Champions League. The club's had rich history in European football. That's just part and parcel of it. You have to play 2 games a week. You know that. I know it's difficult, and you have injuries. That's why you have the squad. It's difficult. I mean, we've been there, and you play on a Wednesday night, and then got to come here and play first thing on a Saturday. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's something that a club like Liverpool has notoriously had to do and will do in the future, and it's something you've got to cope with.
Arne Slot's now got a stew on this over the international break. What would you say is the top thing that he's got to fix?
So have I. I've got a stew on it. Listen, I think his first priority will be hoping that all his players and international players come back fit and available, because the Man City game now in the FA Cup becomes even more important, if you like. They've got to try and progress in that competition. Then you've got PSV that's going to smack them in the face.
Yeah. So, and Everton as well to come.
Well, look, get bodies back fit, i.e. Ekitike and some other injuries that they've got. Try and get Salah back and the goalkeeper, and try and get as many as your good players available for your next game. That's the only thing you can focus on now.
Well, we're going to let you very shortly go and stew on this one. Brighton are going to...
Cody, a disappointing result for Liverpool today. How did you see the game?
Yeah, like you said, disappointed. Obviously, we wanted to win, which is important in the situation we're in. But it didn't go that way. It was a difficult afternoon.
How frustrating was it that, yet again, after a really good performance one day, Wednesday, in the Champions League, Liverpool haven't been able to follow that up again?
Yeah, that's frustrating. I think it's happened a few times already this season. So that's not good from our side, and that's frustrating.
Can you put your finger on why that's happening?
Not really. I think if we would know it, then we would try to solve it. But like you said, it happened a few times already. So we have to keep analyzing that and to find maybe the spot that's hurting us in those moments. So, yeah.
How big a blow was it to lose Hugo Ekitike so early on in the game to what the game plan was for Liverpool today?
Yeah, obviously a big blow. I think everybody see how well he's doing. So that's a big blow.
What did Brighton do to make it so difficult out there?
I think they were just being themselves. I think everybody knows how good they can be on the ball. They tried to play their own game, and it worked out well in moments for them.
7 Premier League matches to go for Liverpool now this season, with the aims, of course, to qualify for the Champions League. What position do you feel you're in to still be able to do that?
I think we just have to approach every game that we have to win it. I think that's normal for a club this big, and I think that's also what we're supposed to do in the situation we're in, or otherwise. But we have to fight to win 7 games.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
And Peter Crouch were watching with me, and we spoke about the inconsistencies from Liverpool this season, Stephen. And it was another false dawn today, following a really good performance in the Champions League, again with a bad performance in the Premier League.
Yeah, and we've seen it, quite a few times this season now, where they put a lot of effort, performed really well on the Champions League stage, and all the emotion and all the energy and the intensity they have to put in them games to win or get a result. It's having a big effect on them at the weekend, and they haven't got the options in the squad or on the bench to really make numerous changes to bring that energy and that quality into the team to perform at the same level they do in midweek. And they had to play a lot of the same players today. They made a couple of changes that were forced on them, but the manager wanted to keep the change rather than make changes for energy, and it backfired today.
Is it a case of that he can't make those changes then, Peter, because of the lack of depth, or just that he's choosing not to?
Well, I think he was hampered a little bit. Obviously, the injury to Salah was important, and the injury to Ekitike, it made them toothless, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think Wirtz ended up being the highest player at stages, and they're trying to play balls in behind. He just hasn't got the pace to run onto it. Gakpo was suffering a little bit of a lack of confidence. And the injuries are one thing, but you can't make excuses. I don't think they were getting out to people. They weren't running hard enough. They weren't putting challenges in. They were allowing crosses to get into the box. And if you continue to do that, you're going to get punished.
For Arne Slot, though, there will be more murmurings. I'm sure that there'll be more frustration from the fans after another setback today. How does he regain their trust?
beating Man City in the FA Cup is the only really thing he can control now. He can change nothing about today. I think he'll be really disappointed in the overall performance. I think he acknowledged the fact that they were going to suffer at times today through what they had to put in midweek. You know, they just couldn't match Brighton's intensity and energy levels throughout the 90 minutes today. They done really well to get back into the game after going a goal down. First half, for large parts, they did okay. But in the second half, Brighton come out and really went through the gears. They lifted it a level and Liverpool just couldn't live with them. It was a big, big blow losing Ekitike early doors. As Crouchy said, it made them a bit toothless. They didn't have much pace to hit Brighton going forward. Maybe he could have went to the bench a little bit earlier for Rio and Chiesa to give them some legs and some speed in the front line. But, you know, to finish with Gakpo and Wirtz and then 4 midfielders, centre midfielders in the midfield before he made that change, it was very difficult for Liverpool to create any real clear-cut openings.
Yeah, because that injury was so early in the game. But then when they did go behind in the first half, Peter, they were able to respond really well to that. But then in the second half, the response to going a goal down again just wasn't there.
No, it just wasn't. I didn't think there was any way that they were going to get back into the game. I thought Rio and Gamoa definitely, when he came on, looked very sharp. You know, a couple of step overs. He looked sharp down the left-hand side, but other than that, I didn't think there was really any cutting edge. And if anything, Brighton were going to go on and get a third.
What impact do you think this has on their Champions League qualification hopes? Because they could have went into the top 4 today, but they've got some tough games coming up, Stephen. In the last 4 games of the season, they're playing like Villa, they've got Chelsea, Man United in there as well.
Yeah, some really tough games. But if you look at the last 2 league performances, Tottenham at home should have really been a bank of 3 points. If you think about the form that Tottenham went into that game in, and again coming to Brighton, we knew that they weren't going to be at the all-fire and energetic best today, but if you can't win a game, don't lose it. Don't lose it. But they could have lost it by 3 or 4 today because Brighton were creating the most clear chances, and it's a real big missed opportunity for them in this race.
But they've really got to bank some points in those games coming up against Fulham. They've got the Merseyside derby as well, which is absolutely massive, and then Palace, because as I said, it's Man United, Chelsea, Villa and Brentford in their last games of the season, Peter. What do you think of their Champions League chances?
Yeah, chance, of course, but I look at Villa's games there. You know, I thought they might potentially drop out and Liverpool could maybe take their place, but you know, they're winnable games there for Aston Villa as well. So I'm slightly less hopeful. Certainly, after I thought today was a real big game for them to win, and unfortunately, they haven't managed to do it. You know, Villa go and get a result, then they are struggling for that top 4 now.
A big step backwards for Liverpool today, who have lost 2-1 here at the Amex to Brighton.
I was really fearful of this fixture. It just had everything against us. You know, to reach the emotional and physical levels that we did on Wednesday night was going to be an enormous ask. Having played on the Wednesday and then been asked to go all the way down to the Amex to play at 12:30 on a Saturday morning was going to be a tough ask. It's all about recovery, how quick they recover. But obviously we've taken a hit with Alisson, lost him, lost Mo Salah. So, you know, and you know, Razor will tell you, I don't think you'd ever play 100% fit as a footballer. There's always something niggling somewhere. And when you play a game in such close proximity, them niggles, they can turn into bigger things. And fingers crossed, you know, we'll have to hope Ekitike, Hugo's okay. But we'll have to see what comes back from that. But, you know, you just felt fearful that there might be another couple of injuries impacting the team. They've had more rest than us. It was away, it was travel, and I know it's easy to sit here having been beaten 2-1 and looked at the performance and then use these now as an excuse, but I do think they're valid.
I think it's mitigating circumstances hugely, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there were good parts, there were bad parts that we've seen this season defensively where we've kind of put our hand over our eyes, and individual errors were there again today. There were opportunities for us, but far too few, as it were, and you know, we got back into the game at 1-1, and unfortunately second half it become real open again. It become a little bit like a basketball game, and it become a bit ragged, and they, you know, last 20 minutes they looked like they had more energy than us and winning more battles and second balls.
Which is a natural consequence, though, I suppose, of having played midweek, Ray.
Yeah, of course you can factor that in, but I'd be looking at that first half where you're going to a team that have won 3 of the last 4. Brighton are in good form. I thought Liverpool were by far the better team. didn't think that Brighton really created a great deal. The chances they did get came from Liverpool's mistakes. Now, when you come on as a sub as well, and it's something against Curtis, nothing against Curtis, but when you come on as a substitute, you've got to be ready to be up to the speed of the game. You can't wait for things to happen. He gives the ball away, and then there's a knock-on effect from that where Mamardashvili plays it out to Kanati. He looks like he missed control. There was a bit of pace on it, but could have still done better. And then ball to the far post, no one's picking up, header across goal. And there's Danny Welbeck with a free header to put it in the back of it. That shouldn't be happening. Liverpool played the other night against Galatasaray. Wonderful performance. They should have been coming to today's game on such a high, so confident going into the game, regardless of it's how many hours since the last game on Wednesday to today. Of course, that's a factor in it. But you should be ready for whatever's going to come as far as the opposition of Brighton and be ready to counteract it. And with the chances that Liverpool had, the football that they played, I'm thinking, got back to 1-1. Perfect for the second half. Make sure you're ready to go again. And it was anything but that. It looked like we were waiting for things to happen. Looking at this defensively, it looks like no one knew where they should be at any given time. People were pushing up, moving over. I didn't see any leadership. I didn't see people pulling into positions. I didn't see anyone getting angry with each other. And that's the things when you're playing like that, you've got to be angry. You've got to be saying, hey, you're not doing it, get back into position, you're not doing it. And then it has a knock-on effect for everyone. I'm just looking around and everyone's just, well, let it happen, let it go on. And then we end up conceding the goal we did, another poor goal we give away. Everyone's caught out of position, no one picking up. And then we don't look like we're going to create anything after that. We have one shot from Curtis Jones where the keeper's made a good save. Maybe Cody had a half chance as well, which the keeper got a good hand to. But in general, where was the fight after that? That's what I'd be looking at. Even if you'd played on a Wednesday, where was the fight to get back into it?
You're saying you want to see more of the intensity that was so abundant on Wednesday night, Jace, but I mean, we don't want to keep going over old ground with the tiredness reason, but I suppose the tiredness is not just physical, is it? It's mental.
That was exactly going to be my answer off the back of what Ray was saying there. It's, you know, tiredness, we look at it and go, okay, what is tiredness? And you're looking at a player and you know, maybe someone gets away from someone, they just can't get back, and you go, he looks shattered, doesn't he? But there is an emotional tiredness there, and I was just listening to Ray there. The Kanate mistake for me is like mental tiredness. It's like he just doesn't react quick enough because he's tired. Because it's like, you know, he should have done better. You move your feet, you've got to move your feet. You know, you're on your toes when you're up for it and the adrenaline's pumping and there's loads of energy. You're on your toes, you anticipate, you're proactive rather than reactive. I think when you get emotional tired, you become reactive to things.
Yeah.
You try and get there. And this game is played at such a high level, at a high pace now, that them moments can cost you. You know, if you don't control it goes out, they give them the initiative and they give them the opportunity. You know, you take your foot off the gas, you just don't quite get there. Then the ball's down the line.
But if you make one mistake, you don't multiply by making it with the next mistake, and then you make the next mistake. So we made 3 mistakes in a row from that one incident, which led to the goal.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm come back to leaders. As soon as someone's made a mistake, you don't want to get on to them, but you want to say, hey, make sure you do it. But what you're doing by saying that, you're not just speaking to the person who made the mistake. Everyone else in your team is like, oh, hang on a minute, he made a mistake. Make sure we don't do anything wrong in the next few minutes. Then we give the ball away again, and then the cross comes in. We don't deal with the ball that's delivered into the back post. Header across goal. You know, unfortunately, Kanati's allowed Welbeck because he's not jumped. He should have, even if he jumps, he might have put him off. By just standing in position, it's a little hands on his back, which led to Welbeck just heading it into the empty net. But these 3 mistakes, one after the other, is something that you have to look. Didn't see any of them on Wednesday.
That's the frustrating thing.
It's been other games not seen them. So why is it that they've come into it and you come back to a bit of tiredness? You know, I don't always agree with that. I think there's times when you've got to say, right, forget it, all right, my legs might not be quite what they would have been or expected to, but it doesn't mean that I can't get around the pitch at the same time as well, and make sure I'm disciplined, keep my shape, keep my positions and not get caught out of positions as we did, particularly in that second half. I mean, I couldn't even tell you who was playing where in the end because it just looked like it was a mishmash of players in different positions. I'm just like, who's supposed to be playing in positions?
They're all become individuals, didn't they, in the end? It was just a bit of everything. I think as well, it's a valid point. I don't think the squad right now is strong enough for this kind of fixture.
That was going to be my next question to you, because there wasn't a wealth of experience that the boss could call upon on the bench. Rio comes on and he did make a difference, to be fair to him, fresh legs, but sometimes you need some experienced heads, and there weren't too many options.
Plenty of times this season make an impact, and maybe get us back into the game or maybe create a couple of opportunities. But again, they've got something to hold on to. It was difficult for him, wasn't it, to break into that kind of game. But yeah, I mean, we lose Salah, and the thing is, I think we all get wrapped up with, we spent an awful amount of money in the summer, but we also lost some big squad players, big players. Like Diaz, Nunes, you turn around and look at them on your bench and you go, okay, we could affect this even more here. But when you're turning around, and this is no disrespect to Rio Wengamoa and Troy Naomi, it's like they're babies still. They're babies, and you're asking them to come into a big game. We're down, we're 2-1 down. You're going to affect it. It's like they're physical.
You don't necessarily want to always put them into that situation at the same time.
It's not a great environment to throw them into. They're still learning, to be honest. But yeah, we are weak on the ground at the minute, thin on the ground.
You don't want